politics is back in Parliament. Last night, in the Bradford West by-election, George Galloway scored a sensational victory for the Respect Party, taking more than half of the votes cast, and he joins me now live. George Galloway, first of all, congratulations. Did you always think you could do it?
I really did, yes, as the people in your studio can testify. Indeed, if gambling wasn't something I disapprove of, I could have become a very rich man, because when I arrived here, I was 200 to 1 to win this by-election. £1,000 on that would have been quite a nice wager, but I don't approve of that sort of thing. Although Ladbrokes did pay out a record amount of money, and some of my friends got lucky, so I suppose I should be happy for them.
OK, now, let's just look at what happened. I mean, Respect had a tiny share of the vote at the general election. You've come in as candidate, and as I say, you got 53% plus, more than half the votes cast. Why? What happened in this election?
Well, I think there's a tidal wave waiting to break across many parts of the country, and it broke last night in Bradford. And that tidal wave is a wave of alienation, derision, actually, towards the mainstream political parties and their leaders. They're seen by people as insincere, unbelievable, literally unbelievable, say one thing to one group, another to another, and different things at different times, depending on the electoral cycle. And people have dropped out of politics as a result. People have become kind of anti-politics. But if a politician who is believed, I mean, people don't have to agree with me, but I think most people believe that I believe what I believe. I'm not saying it for effect. And when a leader comes along, like...
Which party do you think did worse? Because Labour and Conservatives at the moment are quarrelling and saying this was a worse result for Labour or this was a worse result from Conservatives. Who do you think should be most worried?
Undoubtedly the Labour Party, because this kind of thing can happen, and we intend to try and make it happen in many other parts of the country, starting with the local elections in just 5 weeks' time, where we'll be fielding candidates in every seat in this city and other cities in this region. This is something that was waiting to happen. I'm afraid that the Labour leadership and the policies they enunciate, their continued support for the war in Afghanistan and so on, are just not capable of mobilising people whose fathers, mothers and grandmothers supported Labour loyally for the best part of 100 years. These people cannot be mobilised or counted upon, especially where there's an alternative, by Labour.
Did you win because you exploited ethnic tensions at all?
Well, it was Labour that put up a Pakistani Muslim candidate whose campaign seemed to consist of merely those facts. So I'm not sure that I'm the best person to ask that. I'm the blue-eyed white man in this campaign, in this contest. And I got, actually, if I may correct you, unless the figures have been adjusted, 56% of the vote, which I think makes me unique in the House of Commons in an 8-party race in a by-election. And we won in virtually every ward. In the university ward, which as the name suggests, is just about as varied ethnically and demographically as can be, you'll think I'm making this up, but we won 85% of the vote in the university ward, not least because Labour introduced tuition fees for students, and the Tories and Liberals have tripled them. So, no, these issues were all out there in the election, and we won pretty much across the board, across the whole city.
We've seen this, an important message from George Galloway to voters of the Muslim faith and Pakistani heritage in Bradford West. In it you say, God knows who is a Muslim, and you point out that you don't drink. Are you a Muslim?
No, that letter is a response to the Pakistani Muslim campaign of Labour, which consisted of a claim that people should vote for him because he was a Pakistani Muslim. So I challenged, not just, if you have read the leaflet you'll know this, not just his credentials as a Pakistani and a Muslim, but the efficacy of the leader, deputy leader of Bradford City Council, introducing such a pitch into an election campaign in a city like this in the first place. So that I would never have brought up anyone's religion. still less the fact that I don't approve of alcohol as well as gambling. But I was responding to their campaign. So I know that journalists are beginning to hone in on this question now. Somebody just asked me about Asian voters. There were no Asian voters, Adam, in the election yesterday. They were British voters who have suntans, like you and I aspire to every summer. That's all. Every person in Britain who has a right to vote is the equal one of the other. And we really shouldn't, I promise you this, in Bradford, get into any divisiveness along these lines.
OK, no, I was just wondering why you drew attention to not supporting gambling or not drinking.
Well, I was responding to his claim that people should vote for him because he was a Pakistani Muslim. I don't think people should fish for votes on that kind of a basis. But I'm not going to allow hypocrisy to go unanswered.
And just to be clear on this drinking, you've really never had a drop of alcohol in your life?
Never, nor my father before me, nor my children after me, God willing.
Why was that?
My father disapproved of drink and persuaded me that it was a demon. I'm not sure why we're dwelling on this, but if you'd like to, I shall dilate on my belief that alcohol lies at the bottom of many of our social problems and moral problems in this country. People get sent to the House of Lords for selling it, when in fact it's a more dangerous drug than the drugs that are being sold on some of the streets of Bradford, for which people go to prison for several years.
OK, you used that phrase, God willing, as you did last night on your tweet.
I believe in God, Adam. I'm sorry, I'm not apologising for that. I'm not apologising for the fact that I'm a religious person, and I say God willing because I believe that things happen in this world if God wills them to happen. So that's just a difference between you and me, maybe or maybe not, but I'm not sure it's the real lesson of this election. There are much bigger issues than that.
Are you a Christian?
If you don't mind, it would be good to discuss.
Yeah, are you a Christian? Just a matter of interest.
Sorry?
Are you a Christian?
It's not any of your business, Adam, and I really don't want to discuss my religion any further. This is now half the interview has been taken up by gambling, drinking and religion. Honestly, it was much bigger.
Yeah.
It was much bigger than that, Adam.
Okay,
it was really much bigger than that, I promise you.
I do want to get on the substance. One more silly question, if you like, which is that one of your Labour opponents has said you won because of being on Celebrity Big Brother and that famous clip of you impersonating a cat and licking milk out of Rula Letska's hands. I mean, do you regret doing that now?
Well, people usually say I lost elections because of that. Now you're putting to me that I won an election because of that. We're going to have to get over this, Adam. I've won an absolutely sensational victory. And there's no point in picking over other people's criticisms of me. It's other people's criticisms of the mainstream parties that took a drubbing last night that we ought to be talking about.
How significant do you think it was?
I'm the winner. I'm the winner.
I've congratulated you. I'm saying, how significant do you think it was?
Well, you have, but every question you've asked, implies that your congratulations were insincere. But I don't care whether you really feel good or not.
I'm asking you the questions. I'm not expressing my views. I'm simply raising the issues. All right, let's go on. Do you think you were...
You've now raised... Adam, you've now raised...
But we're wasting time. I want to talk about Afghanistan.
My religion,
how about that?
Big Brother, gambling. Can we talk about the war?
Yeah, well, I want to talk about Afghanistan.
Let's talk about the war.
Do you think the fact that there was such bad news from Afghanistan about British loss of life was one of the things which gave a spur to your campaign?
Yes, I think so. My opponents tried to use that against me. But, you know, most people agree with me that those 6 soldiers, 5 of them under the age of 21, who came back stiff and cold in boxes from Afghanistan to Yorkshire, soldiers from the Yorkshire Regiment. Most people agree with me that they died in vain. The definition of in vain is pointless. And their deaths were, I'm sorry to say, entirely pointless. They have achieved no point. The war will end on the same terms it could have ended last week or last year or any year in the last 10 years. We don't have the blood to spare, and we certainly don't have the treasure to spare in Britain to be going around the world, occupying other people's countries, and having our young men come back in boxes while spending hundreds of billions of pounds on setting fire to other people's countries when we can't keep our own pensioners warm in the winter time, when we're almost bankrupt. So I think one of the lessons of yesterday's election result is that Britain wants out of Afghanistan. And that's, of course, one of the points I'll be pressing when I return to the House of Commons when it reopens, God willing.
What will you be saying about the fuel crisis, or the potential fuel crisis, the potential tanker strike? Do you support the Unite plans to strike, or do you think that it's unreasonable?
No, I absolutely support trade union action to defend the wages and conditions of their members. That's what trade unions exist to do. I joined what is now Unite on Christmas Eve 1973, and I'm still a member today in compliance, in good standing. So I'm certainly not going to be like some Labour MPs and turn against the organisation I've been in since I was a teenager. So I think that the Unite members have every right to defend their wages and conditions. The union should support them, and the party to which the union gives a very large sum of money every year should really do a bit more supporting them too.
So what about your constituents? Should they be filling up their cars, putting a bit of petrol to one side, or not?
I can assure you they are. At Morrison's there's a queue even longer than there was outside some of the polling stations yesterday. They are doing so. Of course, strikes inconvenience people because people's labour is important, and when they withdraw it, it's missed. Otherwise, there would be no point in them doing the job. But the people who should be blamed are the three main parties who all believe that austerity is the way and that working people and poor people should pay the price for the crimes and mistakes of rich and powerful people. Most people don't buy that, and I don't buy it either.
Finally, a lot of the reviews of your return to Parliament representing your third constituency now, I think.
Fourth, actually. Fourth, well, Adam.
Glasgow Kelvin converted from Glasgow Hillhead.
Kelvin, Hillhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bethnal Green and Boats.
Well, all right.
It's four constituencies in 2 countries.
OK, if we take those, people looking at the greatest hit, some of them say that moment before Saddam Hussein was the worst moment of George Galloway, and your moment before the US congressional hearing was the best moment. Is that how you see it?
Well, this is the best moment. This victory last night was the best moment. But I hope it's not my last good moment. And I made a lot of people happy in Bradford yesterday. If you've been here, you would have seen the joy amongst people in the middle of the night. I came back to the headquarters here, and there were many hundreds of people at 4 o'clock in the morning standing outside. And I hope that we've put a smile on people's face. I hope we've given them some hope that things can change, that a new broom can come along and can sweep some corridors clean that need cleaning. The work starts now. The elections start tomorrow. Our election campaign will be launched officially on Sunday at a big rally in the open air in Infirmary Fields at 5 p.m. I hope people watching will come along.
And is this the Arab Spring comes to Britain?
Well, it might be, you know. I mean, nobody believed that the uprising which began in a very small town in Tunisia would lead to what it led, even in Tunisia, never mind across the Arab world. We, luckily, have the ability peacefully and democratically to rise up, to enter the political system when perhaps people had previously shunned it. I think so. I feel so. We'll see if I'm right.
George Galloway, thank you for joining us on this best day of your life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Breaking news coming to us from Northern Ireland.